Hi guys, James at Rampant Lion Reviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one, we are going to have a look at another collaboration beer. So this one is half Spanish on the home side, half English on the away side. It's only the English brewery actually that is featured on the channel before, and I would say that they are best known for their different kinds of New England hazy IPAs, but they also do some very nice imperial stouts as well in my experience. So we will be reviewing more from them in the future. But the Spanish brewery is completely new to me. I've heard good things about them, so it is quite exciting to be able to share them with you here on the channel for the first time. So yeah, needless to say, I'm very curious to see what this one has in store for us. It's always nice to introduce new Spanish breweries to you here on the channel, so hopefully this is another good beer. Hopefully it makes for an interesting review, and as always, I hope that you guys enjoy my take on this one as well. So yeah, for the home side of things then, we are going to go to Madrid, the Spanish capital, and we're going to have a look at my first beer from OSO Brew. So this particular beer is called Don't Fear The Raptor. It comes in at 6.5% ABV. And this one is a New England hazy, whatever we're going to call it, IPA, brewed in collaboration with Neon Raptor Brewing, who are from Nottingham in England. So yeah, this should be pretty cool. There you can see on the side OSO Brew and Neon Raptor. But this beer was released as part of the Tillfällig assortment through Systembolaget here in Sweden toward the beginning of October 2022. And the main reason, as I say, for getting this one was that it would be my first beer from OSO Brew. But of course, since there is a Nottingham connection here, we have to give a massive shout out to the legendary Raggy of Raggy's Beers, Wines and Spirits Reviews. Do make sure you go and check out his channel. I'll put the link in the video description below. But at some point I do want to do an out and about video at Neon Raptor Taproom with Raggy. So that is something that is very much in the works for the future. So keep your eyes peeled for that. But as I say, nice to introduce OSO Brewing to you on the channel for the first time, and always nice to return to Neon Raptor as well. But let's crack on with this one then and see how we go. So, as always with my reviews, I'll tell you a little bit about the breweries involved here before we taste the beer. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the video description below. That's the brewery websites, the link to my future reviews that I'll do from OSO Brew, very first time there on the channel as I mentioned, but also to my other reviews that I've done from Neon Raptor Brew. We will no doubt add more to that in the near future, but there's all the usual social media down there. If you want to see more reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The support you give is massively appreciated, and you can of course check out the playlist of beers from different countries. You will find this one both in the Spanish list and in the English list since it's dual nationality. And of course, the whole channel has that geography-based tagging system. So go into the homepage, search for your hometown or state or country or whatever, and things should pop up. But let's get on to my brewery notes then and tell you a little bit about OSO Brew first, and then we'll go on to Neon Raptor. So yeah, OSO Brew are the home brewery in this case. That's how it goes. So yeah, OSO Brew, as I've mentioned to you already, are based in Madrid, the Spanish capital, and the company was founded back in 2018 by David Ross and Patrick Tuck, who had met 10 years prior during their Erasmus exchange when they were at university, and they both, of course, went to Madrid in Spain, but they apparently met in an Irish pub. But David has a background in corporate affairs, and a good chunk of this actually was spent working in the food and drink industry. I believe it was Foodora he worked for quite a period of time. But Patrick, on the other hand, worked at Ansbach and Hobday Brewery in London, who are very well regarded, of course. But apparently, since their time on Erasmus exchange, the two had been desperate to reunite and return to Madrid together, and they did so when they founded OSO Brewing back in 2018. But soon after this, they opened their La Osacita bar on Cava Baja in the La Latina area of the city, and this has been quite a success for them actually. Despite the pandemic, they continued to grow. They grew over 400% if I remember the article correctly, but they also started a crowdfunding campaign to fund the building of their own brewery. And in late 2020, they recruited Joe Gallimore from Garage Brewery over in Barcelona to lead the brewing team. And since then, they've been developing new recipes. They've been getting their beer out there across Europe a little bit more. Things have been going very, very well for them. But in early 2022, it was announced that they had successfully raised €1 million to fund the new facility, and that this facility that they will have is going to be able to produce 60,000 litres of beer per month. And they're also going to have a new tap room there as well when it's complete. I couldn't find any more up-to-date information on it than that, but I think they are kind of just, searching and trying to get things in motion to get their new brewery into development, I guess we could say. But as of October 2022, when I'm filming this review for you, these guys have produced around 70 different kinds of beer according to Untappd, and they do have a variety of different styles in there. They seem to do a few kind of different IPAs, they've had a few lagers and things, and they have done some darker beers as well. So we'll just need to see what we come across from these guys at some point over the course of the next few months. But yeah, that is a very brief introduction to OSO Brew for you at the moment, and hopefully we can get more beers from these guys on the channel in the future. But yeah, always cool to introduce some new Spanish breweries to you here on the channel. But yeah, if you want to learn more, check out the brewery website, follow them on their social media, and you can of course check out the Untappd page to learn more about the different beers that these guys have done. But let's go on to the English side of things then. We'll go and have a look at Neon Raptor. So Neon Raptor Brewing Company, as I've told you before, were originally based in Derby, but they're now based in Nottingham, and the company started out as the homebrewing experimentation of Adam Henderson. So he had participated in and won Brewdog's local homebrewing competition back in 2015. But a year later, he joined forces with Tom Ainsley and Josh Meller, both former postmen, and they started Neon Raptor Brewing Company as an official entity. But the name Neon Raptor apparently is taken from Adam's hypothetical glam rock band. They had originally gone with Neon Tiger, but this was apparently too close to a well-known beer brand. I'm guessing that'll be Tiger from Singapore. But initially these guys started off as a gypsy brewery. They were brewing very small batches of 300 litres in early 2016, and then the following year in 2017 they started producing using a 1,000 litre kit in Burton-upon-Trent. They started producing in Sneinton Market in Nottingham in 2018, and they opened up a taproom on site in June of that year as well. But since then, they've been expanding the infrastructure of the brewery and producing more different beers, and they do have their own kind of on-site taproom and things like that these days as well. If you want to go and check out Raggy's channel, of course, I believe he has filmed out and about videos there, and that is something that is on my radar for the channel in the future. But yeah, Neon Raptor, in my opinion, are very well known for their kind of New England hazy IPAs. They do quite a few sort of Berliner Weiss, Gose type sour beers as well, the more modern sours, and some of their kind of big imperial stouts are also very, very good. But yeah, Neon Raptor were the first brewery that I came across from the Nottingham area, but Raggy assures me there are some other very, very nice breweries around there as well. So again, that is something that I do hope I can check out at some point in the future. But yeah, as of October 2022, when I'm filming this review for you, Neon Raptor have produced around 230 different kinds of beer according to Untappd, and that will no doubt increase at some point in the fairly near future. But yeah, I think we can leave it at that for Neon Raptor Brewing. Again, if you want to learn more, you can check out the brewery website, you can follow them on their usual social media, and of course you can check out the Untappd page to learn more about their beers. You can check out some of my older reviews, or of course you can check out some of the ones from the legendary Raggy himself. But yeah, let's crack on then and actually have a little look at this beer itself. So, as you can see, the can art on this one is pretty interesting. There you can see Don't Fear the Raptor. You can see a bear there, but you've also got the raptor dinosaur just behind this one. Yeah, my Spanish isn't really good enough yet to say what's going on here, but I think it just says it's a creamy and juicy beer of the New England IPA type, collaborated with our new friends, our new English friends at Neon Raptor. Aromas of citrus and tropical fruits, and I'm not sure, a little bit of herbal note in there, and a few other things. Yeah, my Spanish is, I've only just started learning Spanish, so it's a little bit rusty. But yeah, that is what is on Spanish in the can there. I think I did okay. But there you can see on the side of the can there is the OSO Brew symbol. Obviously their symbol is the bear, which will be why the raptor's chasing the bear. But yeah, Neon Raptor, of course, there too. But yeah, 440 milliliter can. This one, I think I paid 50 Swedish kronor for this. So that is about €5 for the can, £4.50 sterling, somewhere in the region of $5.50 American. But like I said to you, this one was released as part of the Tillfälligt temporary assortment through Systembolaget here in Sweden toward the beginning of October 2022. And it says that this one contains Columbus, which I'm guessing will be the bittering hop, and then Mosaic Cryo, which I'm guessing will be the aroma and flavour hop in this one. But it also uses a verdant yeast as well. But yeah, 6.5% New England IPA. This one, Don't Fear the Raptor, from OSO Brew in Madrid in collaboration with Neon Raptor from Nottingham in England. Let's get this guy out and we'll get on with the tasting then. It's been a wee while actually since I've had a mosaic, like, you know, solo mosaic IPA. So this could potentially be quite interesting. Of course, it does remind me of Zombie Dust to an extent from Three Floyds in the US, although we should point out that was a West Coast Paleo rather than a New England Hazy. So yeah, that's the kind of go-to mosaic hot beer, if you like. So yeah, anyway, as you can see, this beer has poured pretty much as you would expect it to. We've got a solid 2/3 finger of quite a bumpy, I would say, creamy coloured head there. You can see that at the top of the glass, but it does look very, very good. Colour-wise, this beer is quite interesting. If we shine the light through this, it's got a sort of palish yellow colour to it, this one. So remember, the colour of your beer depends on 1, the type of malts that you use. This goes a long way to determining your EBC rating. 2, length of your wort boil is also going to play a role, because the longer you boil the wort, the more the sugar's caramelised, thus you get a darker coloured beer. Any barrel aging that you do or any adjuncts that you put in will affect the colour too, but when it comes to IPAs of most sorts, you don't have to care about that. But yeah, for me, this one reminds me definitely of a more kind of mango, pineapple juice. I always like comparing New England IPAs to different kind of fruit juices. But yeah, 1 or 2 big bubbles sticking toward the side of the glass, a few little ones going up toward the bottom of that head there. But I mean, overall, it does look pretty damn nice, I have to say. I like how this one appears. The level of haziness in this one too is actually fairly impressive for a 6.5%er. But remember, with New England's, the level of haze is determined by the oak content, wheat content, and the actual yeast that they use as well. So it varies from brewery to brewery, even beer to beer. There's not really a rule about, you know, going further up the alcohol scale. You have more oats, you have more wheat, and thus you have more haziness to the beer. It doesn't really work like that, of course. But yeah, it should be quite interesting, this one, to say the least. So let's have a wee look at the nose of this one and see how we get on. I don't think there's anything else we need to say about the appearance of this, but like I say, quite impressively hazy for a beer that's only 6.5%. So, aroma time then. Let's do this. Oh yeah, that's pretty damn solid, I have to say. And it's pretty fresh as well, you can tell that right away. As I've told you in previous reviews, for me the oats are always a signal of how fresh your New England IPA is going to be. The more creamy they smell, the fresher the beer is. The kind of slightly drier that they smell, the older the beer is. But you can notice that in this beer that the oats in this one are pretty damn creamy actually. So this beer is pretty fresh actually, which is impressive when you consider it's an import, because quite often these beers will sit for a little while before they make their way out to the shelves in Systembolaget. So quite impressed with that, in fairness. Systembolaget have been getting better and better with that over the years. But aroma wise, I'm going to say this one is pretty nice. Lovely big juiciness to it. Kind of more subtle green component in my opinion, but the malty base and the yeasty side of it is quite interesting. So as I've always said, for me there are 6 directions you can take a New England IPA. They can be more kind of yeasty and farmhousey, or rye leaning and grainy. Those 2 elements are a bit more common in American brewed examples of this style, but they can be wheaty bitey, oaty creamy, barley malt bready, or a little bit sweeter, and quite often they will display multiple of these characteristics I've just mentioned. But yeah, aroma wise, this is pretty interesting. So yeah, kind of juicy, as I say, nice kind of brighter green component, but a bit deeper at the same time, and then you've got a nice kind of smooth malty base to it. But let's try and break this down and describe it for you a wee bit more in depth. So the backbone of the beer is absolutely, you know, a little bit of that typical fresh white bready bread crust wheat. You are getting quite a bit of that out of this one. So yeah, that's the backbone. On top of that, pardon me, I'm getting some soft, you know, barley malt white bread, and it actually comes across as really fresh in that sense too. But the more that I smell of this beer, I start to get more and more of the wheat from the malt base too. You can smell the wheat just densifying the malty backbone of the beer, and toward the back of that middle, toward the back of the nose, I should say, you start to get that kind of zippy wheat note out of this one. And wheat can always be very, very smooth and very light. It can be a little bit spicy, or it can be quite almost bright and almost kind of zesty in a way, and I'm getting that more kind of bright, zesty, zippy character from the wheat in this beer. So yeah, the way that this goes together, I think, is very interesting in that sense. So yeah, soft white bread and barley malt for this one, but yeah, you have some you have got a really nice mix of things going on here. So yeah, bread crust, soft white barley, soft white bread from the barley malt, the more dense wheat, and then the bit of wheaty bitiness at the back of the nose. The oats are sitting there in the middle of this one as well, being quite interesting. So in the dead centre of the nose, you can definitely get a little bit of that creamy oaty character. But I would say that for me, this beer leans toward it does actually lean toward being more barley malt bready and wheaty bitey. It actually has a little bit more than that, but definitely you can get a little bit of oaty creaminess in the middle of the nose with this one. There's something telling me there might be a bit of golden promise in this, because you have got little elements of McVitie's digestive biscuit and things coming out of the beer. So yeah, there are a few interesting things going on with this one. But yeah, I certainly like how this beer goes together. But I want to say there's a bit of golden promise in this. There's just something setting off the contextual memory here and telling me it's a bit of English golden promise that's in here. But yeah, a little touch of biscuity malt, a little bit of that Werther's original butter candy sort of thing. Yeah, it goes together quite nicely. I think that's everything we need to say about the malty base of this one. But the more that you smell of it as well, more wheat, but also a little bit more creaminess too. On the hoppy side of things then, so Columbus, as I say, it is used as what I suspect the bittering hop in this one, and you've got 3 different types of hoppings. Remember, early edition hops within the first hour of your wort boil, they're going to give you all the bitterness. Late edition hopping within the last half hour, little touch of bitterness, mainly flavour and aroma, and then you've got dry hopping after the wort boil. They give you all the, all flavour and aroma. So West Coast IPAs use all 3. New England IPAs tend to use mainly the latter 2, but maybe a little bit of early edition hopping. But you can certainly smell the depth of the green component you get out of this one is quite interesting for a New England, and it has got a little bit of that kind of spicy floral note that you would expect of Columbus. So yeah, you absolutely get that in this beer, but you have got a brighter floral note sitting on top of that, some nice zesty grassy character as well. But yeah, the way that this beer goes together, I think, is really interesting. So yeah, I think quite a bright and slightly spicy floral green component to this one. Yeah, aroma wise, I do like how this goes together. But yeah, lovely smelling beer, I have to say. So on the on the fruity side of things then, for me, it's absolutely, it's tangerine all the way. You get that lovely kind of bright, juicy orangey character to it, and that's the kind of signature of Amarillo. There's not Amarillo, of Mosaic, but it's lovely and juicy. There's almost a little touch of a kind of pineapple-y note in there as well. I think underneath there are little kind of subtleties of other things going on, but absolutely, there's not too much you have to say about the fruit in this one. It is, for me, Mosaic has that very distinctive tangerine note. And yeah, you get that big, juicy tangerine note, but also just a little touch of an almost pineapple-y tropical quality to the beer. But yeah, as I always say, take a bit of time to enjoy the aroma of it before you get stuck in. But I think it is about time that we try this one. So yeah, this beer is the Don't Fear the Raptor, a New England hazy, whatever you want to call it, IPA from OSO Brew in Madrid in collaboration with Neon Raptor from Nottingham in England. Let's get stuck into this one. Sláinte, skål, cheers, or as they say in Spanish, salud. Oh yeah, that really is pretty damn solid, I have to say. Just lovely, soft, smooth, juicy New England IPA for a 6.5%er. You can't ask for much more than that, to be honest with you. Yeah, I like how that goes together. I'm going to say straight away, big thumbs up to this one. New England IPAs can lean in a lot of different ways, but I think this one, you can see how this would go down in a nice hot capital city like Madrid. This is just, it's got a good balance between being very smooth, but also being kind of nice and juicy and having a little bit of bitterness just on the back end of it. So yeah, I think this does go together pretty damn well actually. So thumbs up from me. Yeah, let's break this down a wee bit more and just describe it a bit more in depth. So, yeah, the more you drink of this, the juicier it gets, and that's interesting. So, middle third of your palate then, backbone of the beer, you get that lovely, soft, white bread, hedgehog type bread crust there, and it's almost a little bit dry, you know, like there's a bit of flour on the edge of the crust. So yeah, you have got a little bit of that. You do have a little bit of that kind of fresh hedgehog bread character with a little bit of that flour on the bread crust. Yeah, so on top of that, there's a nice kind of soft white bready character. Absolutely, you know, that's the barley malt there. But what I will say is, the more that I drink of this and the more it goes into the aftertaste, I can get a little bit of dustiness of the hops from the dry hop in this one. You know, Columbus is quite a pungent hop in this one. It's about 12% alpha acid. It gives you that big spicy floral aromatic note. So you can get a bit of that there. You do get a bit of the kind of dustiness from the dry hopping in this one, although the mosaic is cryo. That's, you know, that's kind of in my mind as well. I have to bear that in mind, but I do almost get that kind of dry hopping dustiness out of the beer, but at the same time you get more of a wheaty bitiness the further you go into the aftertaste too, so that's definitely kind of interesting. But yeah, this one, I really like the mouthfeel of this beer, but we'll come to that later, but the juiciness you get out of this is very, very nice, I have to say. Yeah, where do we go from there? Yeah, so on top of it, you've got that nice bread crust, a little bit of the floury sort of thing there. On top of that, you have a nice smooth white bready barley malt sort of thing, and then you can feel the wheat just densifying the beer out. So yeah, bread crust, soft white bread from the barley malt, then the wheat's there, and kind of down the middle line of your palate you can feel the oats, and the oats do have a little bit of that sort of porridgey creaminess in the middle of the palate, and as you move out toward the edges on top of the wheaty layer, you get a little bit of the dryness from the oat as well. So I think it's fair to say that this beer is not in its absolute freshest condition, but it's still, you know, toward that. I think this beer's maybe about 6 weeks old, maybe toward 2 months, something like that. It's in that kind of region. But yeah, in the dead centre of your palate, as I say, there's a nice little bit of a kind of creamy, oaty note to it, as we say. You do get a little touch of sweetness to this one in the dead centre of your palate, maybe just a little touch of Werther's Original, and as you push further out from that, there's a little bit of a McVitie's digestive, biscuity type quality as well. So yeah, to me, that goes together really well. The malty base in this one, I think, really complements the fruity side of the beer. This is one of these beers where just everything slots together really quite nicely. I think we've said everything we need to about the middle third of the palate, so let's go on to the back third of the palate then. The border region between middle third and back third of your palate, you get a little bit of a bready build up there for sure. It's got a little bit of white bread and brown bread in there, but the backbone of the beer, you've got a bit of that kind of fresh bread crust again, but it's a little bit drier. On top of that, you can get the smooth, you know, you do get a little bit of the smooth white bready character in there, but it feels a little bit taller and a little bit more airy, but there is a fair bit of density to it as well. But then above that, you've got the more spicy, wheaty character to this one, and the wheat does have a little bit of zip and a little bit of, pardon me, spice to it in this beer, I would say. So that is quite interesting. Above all of that, though, you start to get some of the more kind of yeasty esters out of the beer, and that is quite a light, you know, it really is quite a it's quite a soft, you know, just airy white bready character to this one. There's a bit of, you know, crackery note to it. There's a little bit of that slightly woody farmhousey thing, but yeah, you do get that very light airy yeastiness to it. But definitely back third of the palate, you can feel the flavour is taller, and then as you move further forward into the middle third of the palate, it condenses down a bit. This is quite common in beers. You'll heard me talk about this many times in reviews now. But let's focus on the hoppy side of this beer. So, as I say, again, this is just one of these beers where everything goes together really nicely. But yeah, back corners of the palate, definitely a little bit of earthiness there. But as you move further forward, it very quickly develops a sort of floral spiciness to it. The floral character is actually quite nice and bright, I have to say. So yeah, there's a nice big kind of floral spiciness to it. And then yeah, as you push toward the kind of front corners of the palate, you do have that lovely kind of floral. You just have quite an oily floral aromatic sort of thing, but round the front curve of the palate, it remains quite oily, but there's a bit of a zesty, grassy character in there. And yeah, the way that it goes together, I think, is quite nice. You do have some of that depth. You do have some of that depth of green component from the Columbus, and the fact that they're using Columbus tells me that's probably been a bit of early edition hopping going on there, and just the depth of the green component. And this for me is quite nice. As you'll know if you've watched the channel, I love the old school West Coast IPAs. So the way that this beer is turning out really makes me want to try like a West Coast, a proper old school West Coast from OSO. So we'll need to see if we can make that happen. I'd love to have a go at one of their West Coast IPAs just because of the hoppy character in this beer and how it is. But round the front curve of the palate, as I see, you've got a bit of that oily note there, and it's quite floral, but you do get the grassiness on top of that, and there's a wee touch of zestiness there. But let's focus on the front third of the palate with this beer. But yeah, front third of the palate, and this beer is, I think for me that's the kind of highlight. But as I say, it's all about how things piece together. But the border region between front third and middle third of your palate, you get a little bit of white bready build up there. Base of the front third of the palate is a smooth white bready kind of character again, and then on top of that you've got that nice oily bubble where the juicy fruity esters just roll their way out of the beer actually. So yeah, I really like how that goes together. The fruity side of this beer is quite straightforward for me. It's all about the kind of, at the back of the front third of the palate you do get a slightly stronger, straight up citrusy sort of thing, like it's almost, I don't know if you could describe it as lemon or a little bit of grapefruit, something like that, but there's a strong citrus there. But as you move further forward, the beer gradually gets more and more tangerine and orangey. It's straight up mosaic. There is a little hint of like a slightly pineapple-y thing in it for me as well. But yeah, mosaic, the orangey character that it gives is really nice. And mosaic and Amarillo probably are two of my favourite hops, along with Hallertau Blanc and Nelson Sauvin. Maybe Ebinkma I would count in that as well. But yeah, the juicy, for me, the fruit in this beer is straight up, tangerine orange. It's one of these beers that's very simple in what it does, but it just executes everything really quite well. So yeah, I do like this. I have to say, I do quite like how this goes together. So thumbs up to both Neon Raptor and OSO Brew for this very good first impression of OSO Brew, I have to say. Let's round off this review with a wee look at the mouthfeel then. So, mouthfeel wise for me, as I said, this beer, it's kind of right in the middle of the spectrum. The carbonation it has a little bit of impact in the beginning, but it really smoothens the beer out very nicely. This beer has a lovely balance between kind of creaminess and wetness in a sense. There really is a lovely character to this one, and you can see when you taste this beer, you can see why it would go down so well in in a place like Madrid, because it just has that balance of smoothness, but at the same time it remains quite refreshing. In terms of IBUs, I think this is a slightly more bitter New England IPA. I wouldn't be surprised if this is like maybe 50 IBUs. It feels that little bit more bitter actually, and I like a little bit of bitterness, so I wouldn't be surprised if this is somewhere in the region of 50 IBUs. Always take my IBU counts with a pinch of salt though, it's one of my weakest points of beer reviewing. But yeah, the malt base, as we said, is very, very smooth. You get a bit of bitiness from the wheat. There's a little touch of sweetness comes out of the beer later on as well, and then you've got that nice juicy kind of tangerine quality to it as well. So yeah, the way that this beer goes about its business for me is very nice, and on the basis of how this beer comes across from OSO Brew, I have to say I'm very curious to try some of their other ones, but particularly like a proper old school West Coast IPA. So I'll need to see where I can get these OSO brew beers from, actually. I would love to try a few different ones. But yeah, I think we can leave it at that for this one. A lovely collaboration between Neon Raptor from Nottingham in England and OSO Brew from Madrid in Spain. So have a go at this. I don't think you'll regret trying this beer at all. So yeah, let's leave it there. Once again, thank you for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comment section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are, both from OSO Brew in Madrid. Give me some other Spanish brewery recommendations as well, but also let me know about some of the Neon Raptor beers that you'd like to see me review. And we will no doubt return to both of these breweries at some point in the future. But yeah, this was the Don't Fear The Raptor, a 6.5% New England IPA collaboration between Neon Raptor from Nottingham in England and OSO Brew from Madrid in Spain. Make sure you go and check out my friend Raggy at Raggy's Beers, Wines and Spirits Reviews. I think it's just Raggy's Beer Reviews, he calls it on YouTube. But yeah, go and check him out regardless. But have a go with this beer. This was pretty damn nice. Till the next time, check out my social media, check out the brewery's social media, and do go and check out the legendary Raggy. Slàinte, skål, cheers.